we have another round of applause for these students. They are not only a hope for the future, they are actually working to make it better. Next, we are now getting ready to have our panel discussion, and it will be moderated by Elaine Mueller, who is our committee chair for Earth Day. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for coming to this event. UNA is going to be offering lots of other events as well in the future. We are the Queens chapter. I am just in awe of the students, and I think they're just amazing. I'm going to ask Nathan Kensinger to please come up to the mic and please give us a little bit of your bio and also a little bit of what you're here for.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? Excellent. My name is Nathan Kensinger, and I'm a reporter, a photographer, a curator, and a person who's spent a long time exploring the waterfront of New York City. So what I'm going to talk about today actually is the role of the EPA here in New York City, the Environmental Protection Agency. They were not able to be here today, I understand, for a variety of reasons, but the EPA is currently going through some changes, and one of those changes has involved them not really being able to speak in public. They haven't been able to talk to reporters or to give presentations about the work they do. So I'm going to talk a bit about what the importance of the EPA in New York City is. And I thought I'd start by going back to some images from the 1970s, really looking at what the condition of the city was when the EPA was founded. The EPA started in December 1970 by order of President Richard Nixon. And at that time, New York City was in much more rugged shape, I guess you would say. There was serious air pollution, water pollution, environmental pollution of all types. Industry was dumping in the waters. Landfills were overflowing. And the EPA actually is one of their first programs launched something called Documerica, where they sent a group of photographers to explore around the entire nation the condition of the environment. So this series of images is for Documerica and from the EPA, showing New York City specifically in the 1970s. As you can see, there was quite a bit of dumping taking place around the waterfront of New York City. The beaches were littered with abandoned cars, all kinds of debris that had washed up. This is on the coastline of Breezy Point and the Rockaways. These slides are also from Documerica. This shows that at the time that the EPA was founded, garbage was taken out by barge and dumped into the oceans. It was one of the first acts of the EPA was to try and control that in New York City. The landfills in New York City at the time were all open air landfills. They were all at capacity, and so as a result of that, the garbage would just flow into the waters and also pollute into the groundwater. This is an image from Gravesend Bay in Brooklyn showing some of the industry along the waterfront. and also the runoff from that industry into the water system. And this is looking at Jamaica Bay here in Queens. A serious problem at the time, and it still exists today, was raw sewage in New York City. This is a photograph showing raw sewage flowing out of a sewage treatment plant into Jamaica Bay. We still face some similar problems, as you'll see later, but the condition of the water here in New York City has improved greatly since the EPA came out into foundation. The EPA's mission when it began was to protect human health and the environment. And some of their first acts that they signed up to enforce were the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act. They began the Superfund program in the 1980s, which is also known as CERCLA. And a large part of their budget to this day is still dedicated to giving grants to community organizations. So besides cleanups, they support a whole wide variety of groups around the nation, cities, states, and community groups. And they have a very large initiative that has also begun in recent decades for environmental justice. So looking at communities that have been traditionally greatly polluted in lesser income areas of the nation and trying to provide some better cleanup for those places. So from there, we can kind of look at how things have changed since the EPA came into practice, or how they haven't changed in some ways. What I'm going to show you now are some of the projects that the EPA is working on in New York City. The most well-known projects, I would say, are the Superfund programs here in New York City. New York City has 3 different Superfund sites at this time, and this actually shows kind of how our small cleanups here in New York City pale in comparison to what's happening around the nation, in a sense. This is a map of all the cleanups happening around the entire United States at the moment, just to give you a scope of what's happening. These are the cleanups happening in New York City. They may look slightly sparse. If you were to look really closely at this, you would see there's 3 major Superfund cleanups and several smaller programs that are happening around the city. The Superfund programs include the Newtown Creek, which is on the border of Brooklyn and Queens. The Newtown Creek is, of course, one of the most polluted waterways in New York City. It was declared a Superfund in 2010. And some of the issues that it's addressing there, the cleanup on the Newtown Creek, include that same raw sewage problem. The Newtown Creek traditionally takes in millions of gallons of raw sewage after every rainfall because of our outdated sewer system. The creek is also polluted by a long history of over a century of industrial pollutants as well. So there's sediment in the bottom of the creek that have been there for decades and decades. There are runoff from the various factories around the creek, and it also is the site of the largest oil spill in the United States, or what was the largest oil spill in the United States, up until the disaster in the Gulf. The second Superfund site I'm going to mention is the Gowanus Canal, another polluted waterway in Brooklyn, facing a very similar history of sewage runoff, industrial pollution. This cleanup has also just begun. It started in 2010 and will take at least another decade, if not 2 to 3 decades, to complete. And the third Superfund site in New York City is in Ridgewood, Queens. This is a site that was the Wolf Outport factory where they dumped thorium sludge into the sewer system of Queens. So underneath the streets of Queens is radioactive waste still present that's radiating out into this neighborhood in Ridgewood, which they placed an enormous lead barrier on top of to help protect. But again, the cleanup in Queens is going to take, at least a decade, if not more. Some of the other EPA activities in New York City include enforcement, of course, enforcing the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act. There was recently a $900,000 fine against the Queens Cesspool Company that the EPA, I'm getting the 1-minute sign, so I'm going to speed up. Community cleanups, much smaller cleanups around the city, brownfield grants, and of course environmental justice grants. The EPA has supported a whole variety of groups here in New York City, from Grow NYC to the Friends of Van Cortlandt Park to the Eastern Queens Alliance, who are working on a host of issues around the city. I guess this will be my last slide to end on. This is, I guess, talking about the current conditions with the EPA, something we can discuss later. The current administration and the EPA are proposing 31% budget cuts for the work that they do. which will eliminate 32,000 EPA employees, which is 19% of their workforce. It'll defund the Superfund program, which we are benefiting from here in New York City, by approximately $330 million, which is about 30% of the budget of the entire Superfund for the entire nation. It'll cut the enforcement funding by 31%, and of course we are facing climate change denial by both the president and by the current head of the EPA, Scott Pruitt, neither of which believe in funding climate change or even in the reality of climate change. Donald Trump has called climate change a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese in various interviews. And in addition, finally, I'll wrap up and say that one of the last things that's being proposed is to actually just outright abolish the EPA. There's been bills that are being planned to be introduced to Congress to get rid of the EPA. And so I think we can talk about this on the panel a little more, but I think it's important to reflect on what the EPA has done here in New York City and the importance of its future here for all of us. Thank you so much.